for our reading focus today, we are looking at point of view. And then once we've talked over point of view, we are going to read the book Two Bad Ants. And we're going to be seeing what the point of view is in an ant's perspective and a human's perspective. So point of view, what does that mean, point of view? Well, a point of view is the way someone views a situation or an object. So everybody has different points of view, okay? And it's what you think about something. So what are someone's views? What are you thinking about when you're in a situation? How do you feel about that situation? What are your thoughts and your opinions about the situation? Or an object. So do you like the object? Do you not like the object? Is the object big? Is it small? So you might have different thoughts about that object than somebody else. And so someone's point of view is impacted by different factors. So there's different things that impact someone's point of view. And this could be their age. So someone who is 2 might have a different point of view about a balloon than somebody who is 30. When somebody is 2 and they see a balloon, they're like, ooh, this balloon, look how crazy it is. It's floating, right? It's floating in the air. And somebody who's 30 is like, oh, yeah, there's a balloon. They've already seen it before, right? So maybe they might not be as excited about seeing the balloon as somebody who is 2 years old. So that goes with life experiences. The 30-year-old who saw the balloon they've already seen it before, right? They've seen millions and millions of balloons before. Whereas a 2-year-old, that might be their first time seeing a balloon. They haven't had that life experience yet of seeing a balloon. A geographical location. So if you might have a different point of view if you lived in Alaska where it's very cold and the weather is very harsh compared to somebody who lives in California where it's really got mild weather, right? Pretty warm and not too cold. So you might have different points of view just because you live in different parts of the world and things are just different, right? Religion is another one. Gender, so if you're a boy or a girl, you might have different points of view on things. And interests, everybody has different interests too, right? So that will affect your point of view. So as I read the book, Two Bad Ants, we're going to stop and we're going to think about what is the point of view of the ants throughout the story. All right, Two Bad Ants. Here we go. The news traveled swiftly through the tunnels of the ant world. A scout had returned with a remarkable discovery, a beautiful sparkling crystal. When the scout presented the crystal to the ant queen, she took a small bite, then quickly ate the entire thing. Well, it must be food, right? Whatever this crystal is. I wonder what kind of food it is. I don't know. She deemed it the most delicious food she had ever tasted. Nothing could make her happier than to have more, much more. The ants understood. They were eager to gather more crystals because the queen was the mother of them all. Her happiness made the whole ant nest a happy place. So the queen's like, go get some more of that. Whatever that food is. It was late in the day when they departed. Long shadows stretched over the entrance to the ant kingdom. One by one, the insects climbed out, following the scout, who had made it clear. There were many crystals where the first had been found, but the journey was long and dangerous. I wonder where they're going. They marched into the woods that surrounded their underground home. Dusk turned to twilight, twilight to night. The path they followed twisted and turned, every bend leading them deeper into the dark forest. So in their point of view, the ant's point of view, this is a dark forest. What do you guys think it is? A human's point of view, what would this be that they are walking through? Probably like grass, right? Maybe they're just walking through the lawn to get somewhere. So it's probably not a forest, but to them it's a forest. More than once, the line of ants stopped and anxiously listened for the sounds of hungry spiders. But all they heard was the call of crickets echoing through the woods like distant thunder. Dew formed on the leaves above. Without warning, huge cold drops fell on the marching ants. A firefly passed overhead that, for an instant, lit up the woods with a blinding flash of blue-green light. At the edge of the forest stood a mountain. The ants looked up and could not see its peak. It seemed to reach right to the heavens, but they did not stop. Up the side they climbed, higher and higher. So does this look like, in your perspective as a human, does this look like a mountain? No, it's probably just like a wall for a house, right? Or a building. But to the ants' perspective, they see this as a really tall mountain. The wind whistled through the cracks of the mountain's face. The ants could feel its force bending their delicate antennae. Their legs grew weak as they struggled upward. At last, they reached a ledge and crawled through a narrow tunnel. Aha, it was a house. When the ants came out of the tunnel, they found themselves in a strange world. Smells they had known all their lives, smells of dirt and grass and rotting plants, had vanished. There was no more wind, and most puzzled of all, it seemed that the sky was gone. So for the ants' perspective, coming into this house was kind of a strange land for them, right? The sky was gone. There's no more outdoor smells. So in their perspective, they're in an unusual and different environment, huh? But to us, it's just a house. They crossed smooth, shiny surfaces, then followed the scout up a glassy, curved wall. Then they reached their goal. From the bottom of the wall, they looked below to a sea of crystals. One by one, the ants climbed down into the sparkling treasure. Ooh, I wonder what that sparkling treasure is. Can you guys predict what it might be? So the author, the illustrator, is giving us a little hint of what it is. Didn't give us all the letters. Wonder what it is. Quickly, they each chose a crystal, then turned to start the journey home. There was something about this unnatural place that made the ants nervous. In fact, they left in such a hurry that none of them noticed the two small ants who stayed behind. Looks like it might be sugar. Why go back? One asked the other. This place may not feel like home, but look at all these crystals. You're right, said the other. We can stay here and eat this tasty treasure every day forever. So the two ants ate crystals after crystal until they were too full to move and fell asleep. Uh-oh. I predict that they're going to get into some danger. Daylight came. The sleepy ants were unaware of changes taking place in their newfound home. A giant silver scoop hovered above them, then plunged deep into the crystals. It shoveled up both ants and crystals and carried them high into the air. Oh my goodness. So for this point of view, the ants' point of view, they see this as this giant silver scoop, right? But we, as humans, probably think that this is a what? It's a spoon, right? Getting some sugar. The ants were wide awake when the scoop turned, dropping them from a frightening height. They tumbled through space in a shower of crystals and fell into a boiling brown lake. Oh my goodness. What do you think that is? So to the ants' perspective, this is a boiling brown lake. Do we think it's a boiling brown lake? No, it's probably tea or coffee, right? Then the giant scoop, stirring violently back and forth. Crashing waves fell over the ants. They paddled hard to keep their tiny heads above water. But the scoop kept spinning the hot brown liquid. Oh my goodness. Around and around it went, creating a whirlpool that sucked the ants deeper and deeper. They both held their breath and finally bobbed to the surface, gasping for air and spitting mouthfuls of terrible, bitter water. Uh-oh. Then the lake tilted and began to empty into a cave. So, to the ants' perspective, this is a cave. And to our perspective, this is just, right, somebody's mouth. The ants could hear the rushing water and felt themselves pulled towards the pitch black hole. Suddenly, the cave disappeared and the lake became calm. The ants swam to the shore and found that the lake had steep sides. They hurried down the walls who held back the lake. The frightening insects looked for a place to hide, worried that the giant scoop might shovel them up again. Close by, they found a huge round disc with holes that could neatly hide them. Ah, they found a hiding spot. Uh-oh. That hiding spot doesn't look like a good one. But as soon as they climbed inside, their hiding place was lifted, tilted, and lowered into a dark space. When the ants climbed out of the holes, they were surrounded by a strange red glow. It seemed to them that every second the temperature was rising. Uh-oh, where are they? To them, this is just like a dangerous place, right? At the heat, but we know it's probably a toaster. It soon became so unbearably hot that they thought they would soon be cooked. But suddenly the disc they were standing on rocketed upward, and the two hot ants went flying through the air. Whoa! And these aren't hot discs. What are they? Pieces of toast. But that's what the ants thought, right? That was their perspective, their point of view. They landed near what seemed to be a fountain, a waterfall pouring from a silver tube. Both ants had a powerful thirst and longed to dip their feverish heads into the refreshing water. They quickly climbed along the tube. Oh, so they think that this is like this really big tube. But we know it's probably a what? It's a faucet. As they got closer to the rushing water, the ants felt a cool spray. They tightly gripped the shiny surface of the fountain and slowly leaned their heads into the falling stream. But the force of the water was much too strong. Uh-oh. What's going to happen? Here they are. The tiny insects were pulled off the fountain and plunged down into the wet, dark chamber. They landed on half-eaten fruit and other soggy things. Suddenly, the air was filled with loud, frightening sounds. The chamber began to spin. What is this chamber that they're in? Oh, you guys couldn't see it. Looks like it might be a garbage disposal, right? The ants were caught in a whirling storm of shredded food and stinging rain. Then, just as quickly as it had started, the noise and spinning stopped. Bruised and dizzy, the ants climbed out of the chamber. In daylight once again, they raced through puddles and up a smooth metal wall. In the distance, they saw something confronting. Two long, narrow holes that reminded them of the warmth and safety of their old underground home. They climbed up into the dark openings. Oh, what are these dark openings? Looks like it's a plug. But there was no safety inside these holes. A strange force passed through the wet ants. They were stunned, senseless, and blown out of the holes like bullets from a gun. When they landed, the tiny insects were too exhausted to go on. They crawled into a dark corner and fell fast asleep. Night had returned, and the battered ants awoke to a familiar sound. The footsteps of their fellow insects returning for more crystals. The two ants slipped quietly to the end of the line. They climbed the grass wall and once again stood amid the treasure, but this time they each chose a single crystal and followed their friends home. Good choice, right? Standing at the edge of their ant hole, the two ants listened to the joyful sounds that came from below. They knew how grateful their mother queen would be when they gave her their crystal. At that moment, the two ants felt happier than they'd ever felt before. This was their home. This was their family. This was where they were meant to be. Aw, the end. All right, so to go back to our reading focus, point of view. What is that? So we talked about, I kind of pointed it out throughout the story as I was reading it. What is the ant's point of view in this situation? What is the human's point of view in this situation? So what are their views of the situation or the object? What are they thinking about it, right? And it's gonna be different between an ant and a human, right? They're definitely gonna have different points of view. And so we are going to look at that. We're going to look at one of the situations that the ant came across in the book. And this is the one that I picked. So when you guys do your point of view for the ant and the human, you can use this one if you would like, or you can choose a different situation that the ants encountered throughout the book. So it doesn't have to be the one that I have chosen. You can definitely choose a different one. And you can always like go back into the video and pause where I was reading that situation. Okay, so go back to the page that I was at that you want to talk about. So for today, what we're going to do is we are going to think about what are the different views between the human's point of view in the story and the ant's point of view in the story, okay? What are they thinking in that situation or about that object? And here, this is the one that I've picked. So I've picked when the ants fall into the coffee cup, right? So let's start with the human. What do you think the human's point of view is just about this object, about the cup of coffee? Well, the human might be thinking, nice warm coffee, right? So in their point of view, they're probably thinking, yay, I get to drink coffee, or yummy, yummy, hot coffee or tea, right? So that's what the human's probably thinking. It's like, yummy, hot coffee. Oh, it sounds so good. It's so tasty. So tasty. Okay, so that's the human's point of view when they look at the object of a hot pot of coffee. But let's look at the ant's point of view. What are the ants thinking about the hot pot of coffee? And they talk about it in the story a little bit. That let me see if I can find it. They paddled hard to keep their tiny heads above the water. Crashing waves fell over the ants. Spinning this hot, so their point of view, this hot brown liquid, right? So the ant's point of view is probably, what is this hot brown liquid? So, or probably yuck, right? They're probably not even liking it. So, yuck. What is this hot brown liquid? So really, when you are thinking about what the point of view of the ants is and what the point of view of the humans are, you're really thinking about what are they thinking? What is their thoughts about this object or the situation? So you guys are going to be doing this in Seesaw. You only have to do one point of view for the human and one point of view for the ant. So what are they thinking in the situation? And you could do this one if you would like. You can pick this situation where they accidentally fall into the hot pot of coffee. And there's other ones you can pick from too. So again, just go back into the story and pause on the page that you would like to respond for your point of view, or for the human, for your assignment on the human's point of view and the ant's point of view. So maybe when they're eating all the sugar, right? What was their point of view when they were in the sugar bowl, or hiking up the tall, large, the point of view here was they're hiking up this tall, large mountain, right? Human's point of view is, well, that's just a wall of a house, right? So you can do what I did, or again, you can pick a different situation that happened in a book and think about and write about what was the human's point of view and what was the ant's point of view.